the changes on patch 12.11, and we're going to go over the changes on patch 12.10 as well, just a brief run over. So patch 12.10 saw the return of Dark Harvest Blue Kayn, saw the return of a lot of sustain being a lot more prominent instead of a lot of people saw it as a nerf because they did get rid of sustain and healing, but they also added a lot of stats to make you tankier. So it does therefore, I mean, you know, nerfing all around like shielding, healing, you know, and buffing tankiness does still make sustain a better option. So patch 12.10 was a push in the right direction for both red and blue Kayn. A lot of people think it's bad for blue Kayn because, you know, first strike isn't as good. A lot of people think that Rost somehow isn't good, even though I think he's great. But this patch 12.11, I think, is going to be very, very exciting. So first off, we have Aphelios. Aphelios getting buff. I feel like that's pretty good, pretty solid. Pretty pretty huge attack speed buff. I kind of just want to go over Kayn. So I think the things to notice is the champions that Kayn does well into and doesn't. So you notice a lot of 80 carries are getting buffed because a lot of assassin items are getting buffed. So 80 carries are given more damage, so it's more, you know, kill or be killed scenario. So I think this will make assassins very viable, but this patch is also adding in tanks. A tank meta is actually the best meta that you can imagine for Ross. This is why I say Ross is going to be one of the best champs in the game, because they're buffing tanks, they're making them all around a lot more strong. Wait, let me ask for John. They're changing the meta in a way that's very good for both red and blue, and I can explain why. They're making assassins have their own unique personality again instead of just one shot everyone you see. So they're making them a lot more skill dependent, a lot more mobility based. So I think that's really cool. And also with we call it Rost, have the tankiness aspect. Actually, I don't want music in the background. So Lee Sin getting buffed is kind of scary. This is something that I find to be a little bit intimidating because this adds to the early game, but I think early game junglers aren't going to be as prominent. I think a lot of scaling junglers will. So you can see the tanks are getting buffed. A lot of tanky items. So Tom, Nunu, even Rai is getting changed. Kind of weird. But I mean, the only thing to take away from this is a lot of champions that Ross is good into are going to be played more. They're going to be a lot more meta, which is good. Really good. So let's get more into the changes. Champ nerfs. You can see Slayer Kayn. This is Ross. Q damage 65% AD plus 5%. Increased by 5.5 per 100 AD. Targets max HP. And it's still going to be 65% plus 5%, but it's minus the 0.5 per 100 AD. So this nerf, it's not a real nerf. It's not really that. I mean, it's just taken away. Because Riot has been seeing people go like Eclipse and stuff and like absolutely just one-shotting. So they're just taking away a little bit of the scaling the higher AD you go. So you're kind of supposed to be building like a bruiser. Riot's just like, you guys are building way too much AD on Kayn. This is not what we want. So you're not going to be as rewarded for the higher AD cap you have. So don't feel like this is a hard nerf to Ross. I agree. I think that Ross typically should have bruiser items. He is a bruiser. He's a tank slayer. So I think that's pretty huge. Olaf getting nerfed is pretty huge for us. A lot of champions. Master Yi getting nerfed is kind of surprising. Ringer being nerfed I really like. So Kong as well. So I think Talia was the one I was looking for the most. R can no longer be cast with 3 seconds dealing damage and E monster damage. Got upped. Kind of surprising. So we have Axiom Arc getting buffed. Okay, 1 second, let me make sure I'm picking Kayn here. It looks like I'm playing mid. Wait, am I playing mid? Okay. Well, either way. Eclipse getting buffed is pretty huge, I'd say. Damage proc 6% max HP. Max HP. That's pretty huge. Lock in Kayn first. Let me lock in Kayn and make sure I have my Kayn mid runes on. Kayn the mid lane. Hopefully this game doesn't go too bad for Kayn mid lane. We go presence of mind this game. I'll probably run just resolve actually. Am I lane against? I don't think it matters. Okay, so the thing to note about this is they're buffing a lot of lethality items. So like I said, they are gonna add more scale and lethality. So the more items you get, the better it's gonna be overall. 4 lethality on your mythic is huge. And another thing to notice is that Gore Drinker, I believe, is getting extra ability haste per item you get. So better scaling on the Gore Drinker. I find that to be just absolutely insane, truth be told. I think that's probably one of the most biggest things you could take from this. Sterix is getting buffed, so that's going to be another good option for Ross. So against a lot of burst champions, that's going to be great. So assassins are getting the push that they needed, but the counter assassin, the tanks, and the bruiser items that counter the burst are also getting put back into the game. So assassins will be able to one-shot the carries. They just won't be able to one-shot the front line anymore, which is good. I agree with that. And then Gore Drinker is going to have better scaling, and then you're going to have better scaling items as well. You can see tanks are getting a lot more HP. Randuin's getting up 10 armor, so I definitely think Ross is going to be huge. Ross is going to be one of the most broken champs in the game because of a lot of these changes. And Assassins will also have a smoother, nicer build to work with. So I definitely think this 12.11 patch is probably one of the best things that you can imagine for a Kayn main, if be told. Tower damage getting put down as well. That stands. It's only the heal ratio, which I agree is a little bit overtuned. Thornmail is getting a bit of a change, so it's 10 to 20% bonus armor. That's really huge. Bramble Vest up a little bit. So I think a lot of the items for Ross are going to be really good. So I hope you guys understand that this patch is going to be probably one of the best patches you can imagine for Red Kayn. So a lot of Red Kayn fans, shout out to you. And I hope Blue Kayn... I mean, obviously Blue Kayn's getting a lot of significant buffs here. So both Red and Blue Kayn are getting buffed. But I will say that I think Ross is going to come out ahead just because the meta shift. Obviously, the meta shift will change. Once all that happens, though, I'll let you guys know. Thanks for watching. Peace. This is Karasmai's patch rundown.